This is episode 3 of the Remix Your World podcast with Shane Steil. Welcome to Remix Your World. I'm Allison Kalagna, global DJ and music producer turned life remixer and personal growth coach. In each episode, we bring you real talk, inspiring stories, and heartfelt conversations of personal transformation to help you uplift and amplify your life. This is the Remix Your World podcast. What's up, world? Welcome to episode 3, and it is an honor to bring you a beloved friend of mine, Mr. Shane Stiel. Shane has a very inspiring story to share with you today about how he remixed his life and his world. Over the last few years, we've gotten a lot closer, and I've watched him grow, held space for his transformation, and seen him go from homelessness to happiness. He is a 2-time graduate of the Remix Your World CIJ course, and it's been a pleasure to not only see him use the tools for his own transformation, but now seeing him share the love with his clients and guiding them to reach their fitness goals. Here's my interview with my most beloved cubby in all the land, Shane Steil. And just a heads up, we did have some mic issues in the beginning, and I didn't want to re-record and take away from his sharing, but it does get resolved quickly, so I appreciate your patience. Let's jump in. Here is Shane Steil. Just a heads up, you will hear me talk a lot about meditation. If it is something that you are interested in and you're looking for a way to kind of deepen your practice or maybe even begin a meditation practice, I have an exclusive offer for you. I have something that I produced called the Mindful Mixtape, which has got 5 guided meditations led by me, all put to music. So if you're interested in downloading this, text the words meditate now, all one word, to 44222, and I will send that Mindful Mixtape to you right away. You can also find it on remixyourworld.com.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh yeah!
Shane Steil can be heard DJing all over the world, from Australia, Atlanta, Chicago, LA, New York, and Toronto, playing major circuit events that include Purple Party, One Magical Weekend, White Party, Peach Party, Alegria, and Bear Week, just to name a few. When not throwing down in the DJ booth, you can find him running Haus Of Steil Fitness, where he trains clients locally in Los Angeles and globally online. You can find him everywhere online, from Facebook to Instagram. I will link all of his socials in the show notes. But without further ado, let me introduce you to my special friend, little cubby, and special lovey, Shane Steil. Let's dive in.
Yo, check this out. Don't you want some more?
Hi, Shane.
Hi, Allison. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm great. It's Valentine's Day.
It's Valentine's Day, and you are one of my most favorite cubbies in the whole entire world. So, it's only fitting that you are the guest on Valentine's Day.
Oh, well, you're my favorite mommy bear. You're my only mama bear, so.
Yeah. You're my favorite, even though we're going to have a lot of people text me when they're hearing this, #Blake Baker. But it's no, everybody knows our love game all over our socials, so it's good.
They do.
But I wanted to have you on because the purpose of this podcast and this show is to highlight people's transformation. And you have been, through your own personal growth and through your own transformation, that I've been able to witness, and it's been beautiful to see. So I wanted you to kind of share your story and tell everyone a little bit about how you got to this place. And I'll ask you some questions and you can kind of open up about it, because your story is very inspiring. And I know that a lot of people out there will resonate and be inspired by it as much as I have been.
Thank you.
So, all right. So we'll just rewind the record.
Okay.
Where do you feel that the journey that has brought you to who you are and where you are today begins?
That's a loaded question. That that my journey, probably, I would say, I mean, looking back now, is realizing that it actually started when I was a young kid, and I just didn't really realize it until I got older. There were several things that I went through as a child, finding out that my father, that I thought was my father, wasn't actually my father. Coming out as gay, all these little things that have happened in my life, going through crappy relationships, everything, and then meeting you has brought me to who I am today. And I think a lot of people would look back at their lives and they would kind of disclude any of the bad things. They wouldn't really realize that the things that did happen that they would deem as bad or negative in their life, they don't really realize that those are actually important lessons to be learned.
Yeah.
And I didn't really even know that those were lessons to be learned until I had met you. So.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
So do you remember what key crisis or breakdown that caused you to kind of remix your circumstances? Do you remember the one thing that was like, oh shit, I got to remix myself?
Yes, it was my ex, and I'll leave names out, but my ex about 3 or 4 years ago broke up with me last minute. I mean, just random out of the blue, and it destroyed me. I put so much of emphasis on him without, taking the time to focus on myself. And that moment, that was probably the lowest part of my life, I think. I felt worthless. I felt my self-esteem was in the gut. As low as you can probably go. I was suicidal. I was using a lot of drugs. I was, trying to find an escape from the pain. But, it turns out that moment was a blessing in disguise, and it caused me to, take action and really grasp myself and say, what's in this life for me? What do I have to offer this world? And that's what I need to figure out, because at the same time, I was not working anywhere that made me feel happy. I was not doing anything that I wanted to do. I was just kind of working for the man, living paycheck to paycheck. And I knew that I needed to make a change. And just to further along those lines, my confidence level was in the gutter. So when my confidence level was so low, that caused me to not be able to pursue the things that actually would make me happy, or that are actually making me happy now, as far as my career and what I'm doing in my life.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a blessing in disguise, I guess.
Usually it is, right?
Yeah, totally.
So who has been one of your most favorite or most helpful allies in remixing your life? And what did they do to make a significant difference?
I think you know the answer to this one. I'm plainly going to say you. You, and I tell everybody that. I get asked that question a lot by people that follow me on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. They always ask, I get private messages asking me, how I became so happy and how I continue to be happy. And honestly, it was meeting you, because that moment that when I broke up with my ex, you were the first person that I called and talked to. And you were the first person that actually stepped in to show me a different direction in my life. It was from that moment. Let me back up a little bit. Before that moment, I would take advice from people and just, go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
But this time, the advice that you were giving me, it actually resonated with me in my heart. There's a specific moment that I will never forget with you.
I wonder if it's the same moment I remember.
We'll see. So there was a moment that, I was trying to find a way to let go of my ex. And you had made the recommendation to have a letting go ceremony on the beach. And so I did that. I went there. I burned everything. I wrote a letter to my ex. I read it out loud, cried my eyes out, burned it on a bonfire on the beach, got naked, jumped into the ocean at 9 p.m. at night. It was freezing. But when I came out of that water and I looked up at the sky, and I just felt, I could feel every single little trickle of water coming down off my body. And I was really taking in the moment. And that was pretty powerful. But I think the next day was the most powerful for me from that. And it was because my ex, out of the blue, after not talking to him for months, the next day he messaged me and he asked if we could talk or whatever. And I went to you immediately and I said, "Oh my God, you'll never believe what happened." And you actually said, "Yeah, I actually do believe it," because that was the universe. He felt the disconnection in the universe. And I just remember, I was in my personal training class. Okay. Total start to my new life. It's just also all these signs. Okay. I was in my personal training class and I remember standing outside and I was on break and I called you and talked to you and you told me that. And that was the moment that I actually truly, really believed in the universe and the power that it holds. And that, I think that was the moment that just kind of turned everything around for me. And then I just, I considered you at that moment my life coach, and that I was going to come to you every single time I needed help or guidance. And you have selflessly been there along the way, every single step, and you still are to this day. And I will never know how to repay you for that, because I don't know. I love you so much.
I don't want to cry on the
I know, don't
cry. Oh no, I do remember that moment. And I remember that being a really big shift. And the moment that I was remembering as well, like, cause that all led to like the next big transformation moment was when we were in Toronto at the sushi restaurant and you were, contemplating. You were like, like we talked, you weren't happy, the music and all of it, right? It's like the same story was we've had a lot of these same conversations. And it was the personal training conversation when I was like, what is stopping you? What are you so afraid of? Yeah. And that conversation, you switched, like there was a big change and you took it seriously. Like what happened? What was it that made that click? Because you turned a record, like you turned a corner, and then you hardcore pursued personal training to where you're doing it, amazingly now.
Honestly, and I will say this again, I think, you were the inspiration for me for that as well, because I saw what you were doing with your Remix Your World. And I saw how you were, just starting it from the ground up. You were pushing your following steps to get, you weren't letting people get you down. You weren't letting, anything in your way. You were just going to do this. You're going to pursue it. And I was like, you know what? If Allison can do that, I can too. Like I can do this. And I'll be honest, like when I started, so right after that moment, I went to Gold's Gym, and finally, became a personal trainer there. But I was nervous, like I was scared out of my mind because I didn't know that I could like confidently inspire people and coach them and teach them, the way that I now realize that I can. Yeah. I didn't realize I had that ability in me. And that alone has shot my confidence through the roof. I mean, I even told myself, so a couple of months after I started my personal training, I felt really confident and stuff. And then I started my own business, left Gold's Gym or whatever. I remember I hadn't seen a lot of people in LA out in a while. Like I hadn't gone out in LA to see anybody. I was just kind of like doing my own thing. And in the past, whenever I would meet with anybody out or anything in LA, I kind of felt less than, You know, I felt like, you know, I didn't make enough money, or that I didn't fit along the same status lines as everybody else. Not that that matters, but, you know, at that time it mattered to me, you know, and it hurt, you know, because I always felt less than. But when I finally went, after, you know, doing my own thing, I went to I forget where I was. It was some function I went to. And I walked through that place with my head held high, and I knew that nobody could tell me anything. Nobody could say anything bad about me. Nobody could say anything about my life, because I was doing my own damn thing, and I was proud of it, and I was happy about it, and everybody could see how happy I was. Everybody could see that, wow, Shane Stiel actually really finally did it.
Yeah.
You know? So that was just like a huge yes. But yeah, I'll never forget that moment either. And thank you for inspiring me to, you know, to continue and do what I love to do. And you still do it to this day. Like, look at my production. I'm starting my production work, and finally.
Yes. Sometimes it just takes time. It just takes time. And one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you went from, living out of the back of your car for a hot minute, you know, to where you are now. I was
homeless. You know, I had nowhere to go. I was at the bottom of my barrel, and I didn't admit that to anybody. Like, nobody, I don't even think my mom knows. Well, until she maybe listens to this podcast. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. No secret.
I don't think my mom knew that, you know, I was homeless. Like, I was literally living and sleeping in my car, and showering at the gym, you know, like, and that was a scary moment in my life. But that was also a moment that I was like, you know what? I don't want to fucking I don't want this for my life. The only person that's going to change it is me. So I need to grab that bull by the horns and just go with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you did.
I sure did.
You did.
Yeah.
So what tools or practices do you feel have been like the most beneficial? Like, what are the things that you either use daily or just your go-tos that have really been helpful?
There's several things that I do. You know, I meditate every morning now when I wake up. I wake up, I sit up in my bed, I stretch, and then I just kind of sit there and I think about the day prior. I think about today, and then I think about what I want, my goals that I'm looking to accomplish in the future. So meditation has helped a lot. Writing in my journal. I don't write in as much as I would like to, but, you know, when I do have a moment of clarity, or I have a moment where I need to get something out, I'll write it down. And then also just, little tiny things have helped me. There's an app on my phone that is called Chill. And I think I shared this with you. It sends a text message, a random notification out to you, like randomly throughout the day, saying things like, come back to your body, or, you know, take a deep breath, or whatever, you know, because I can get so worked up in my head that I forget to do those things sometimes. And that's a really good constant reminder. Yeah.
That's kind of like in CIJ with the Be Here Now.
Yes.
It kind of does that for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. And also, you know, like there's, everybody uses social media every day, right? And social media, a lot of people don't really realize this, but there's a lot of negativity that comes out of things, you know, out of other people's posts, out of the news, especially, you know, with everything that we're going through. So what I've done too is I've just decided that, you know what, look, it's my social media, it's my life, it's my choice of things I want to choose to see. So, you know, I made the choice to start, you know, unfollowing people, or even going so far as removing them, you know. I've unfollowed CNN, I've unfollowed the news, you know, so I don't see it all the time. And I've started following things like on Instagram, like there's a page called Positive Vibes Quotes, you know, and it just shoots up, you know, they just do tons of posts of quotes, you know, positive quotes, motivational quotes every day. Yeah. And so now, instead of seeing like these things that are getting me down, I'm seeing things that are going to lift me up. Yeah. So yeah, just doing those little things that the people really may think that are so minute are so huge in the long run.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because energy is everything, you know, and it's like,
Totally.
it's everything. You know, this is probably one of the things that I preach the most in CIJ. It's like what you put out comes back. And it's like, if we are just constantly harboring on the negative, we're constantly looking at negative things, and we're just going to be stuck in that loop. And it's like those records just keep playing over and over again. And we have the power to choose a new record, you know?
Yep. We sure do.
Speaking of record, if you had to choose a power anthem that like was your go-to during that time of transformation, what was one of your like go-tos? Like, you know, shit, I got to listen to this and like remix my mood.
Blue Sky Action.
I knew you were going to say that. God, like, so I'm so right there with you on that one.
Yeah. Blue Sky Action. See, the reason for that too is right after my ex and I had broken up, I had gone to Sydney for Mardi Gras. It was my first time playing there. I actually got booked there. I was so excited. And that's also when Above and Beyond came out with their new album, We Are All We Need. Mm-hmm. And I distinctly remember playing, you know, the new album. And it was my first time listening to the whole new album right when I got there. Yeah. And I was walking to the gym in Sydney, and I was just kind of enjoying the you know, and the sun was shining and it was blue sky. And I mean, I couldn't have felt happier. You know, people were walking by and smiling, and, you know, and then that song came on and I literally stopped in my tracks, started crying. And I was just like, oh my God, this was after a conversation, you know, where I realized the universe, I was like, wow, this is the universe telling me right now, blue skies, I can do this. You know, I can, you know, I'm going to be a king for the day. Even if this is my last day, I'm going to make it the best day, you know? And then that's how I'm going to live every single day after this, you know? So yeah, Blue Sky Action would be my number one. And now, which is so adorable, whenever Steven and I hear it, or we go to a show together, he sings it to me. Oh. And that was a distinct moment that I remember from ABG 250 was when that song came on. And that was actually the push the button song too.
It was, yeah. It is a lot. They use that one a lot.
That's a good one though.
That's a good push the button though.
It is.
I feel like that was the push the button at ABGT 200 too, maybe.
Really?
I feel like it might have been.
It's a good one.
It's a good push the button. People
I remember
are like, what the hell are they talking about? Listen, guys.
Go listen to it.
If you don't know about Above and Beyond, I don't know what rock you're living under, but it's one of Shane and I's biggest. It's like our little thing. It's like our secret little thing.
Hashtag sun and moon.
Sun and moon. It is. I remember when I don't know how it came about where one of us shared about Above and Beyond, but then we both just looked at each other like, oh my God, you're in that too? And it was just like, of course you are. You know, like, it's like, God. Yeah.
That was good.
They're, you know, a big part of my transformation too. So I think that's why they relate with so many people.
If you are looking for some motivational change in your life, go look for Above and Beyond.
Yeah, for sure. So what do you think makes you most happiest now in your life?
That I'm living the best version of myself. You know, I don't have it all. I don't need it all. But I'm happy with what I have, and I'm happy with who I am.
And that essentially is having it all.
Yeah, it is. Essentially.
In a greater medium. And you know, in a deeper way, that actually is really having it all.
Yeah. Because
all the other is just more things, right? And it's like, you have that all within you. That's everything.
And that's a huge change in my answer, what my answer would have been 4 years ago when I was with my ex. Because I remember I would always put my exes first. I would always put the other person first. Like if you asked me that question when I was with my ex, I would have said my ex.
Right.
Is what makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know, but now, yes, Steven makes me happy, but what's more important to me is that I make me happy.
Yeah.
You know,
It's amazing to see. So what do you think most people would be really surprised to learn about you?
I think, with my presence online and my celebrity status, I guess you can call it, a lot of people see this external image of me, and a lot of people make their assumptions of what I'm like or what my life is like, or they might assume something about me. But I think that most people would be surprised, and I hope I'm saying this the right way. I think most people would be surprised that I'm just as vulnerable and just as sensitive as anybody else is, and I want things just as anybody else wants things, I cry probably more than the average person does,
I'm a crier too.
Yeah. But I'm someone that I feel emotion. I feel raw emotion, and it doesn't have to be something that's affecting me. I could be walking down the street and see a poor old lady, having trouble doing something, or, begging for money or whatever. And that'll hit my heart, and not to keep going back to Steven and everything, but one of the things that Steven told me that he loved most about me is that the things that I can see things in such a beautiful way that he would never see that way. And it takes me back to the movie American Beauty. And I'm sure you remember the part with the plastic bag blowing around, and he called it the most beautiful thing in the world, right?
Yeah.
And that part of the movie really inspired me, because that's how I viewed life. But I didn't really, back then when I saw that movie, I was very young, but I didn't realize that that's how I viewed life. I thought life was what my parents had taught me or whatever. But in reality, I could see a little plastic bag blowing around and be like, wow, that's fucking beautiful. That is life happening and shifting right in front of our very eyes.
Yeah.
So that's one thing about me you didn't know.
Yes. So what do you feel has been your biggest lesson in remixing yourself?
My biggest lesson is probably staying true to myself.
Which is not easy.
And we fall
in our industry, it's not easy. In music, and it's not.
Yeah, it's very cutthroat. People saying things behind your back, yada yada yada. But I've learned that if I stay true to who I am, then I can exude that confidence, and people can't really say anything about me.
Yeah.
A lot of times we falter and fail, and I still do. I have my moments where I get in my head and whatever I think is going wrong is not really exactly what's going wrong, and I shut off the big picture, right? But I think I've learned to realize when I'm shutting off that big picture, be able to take a step back, take a deep breath, come back to myself, and be like, is what I'm doing right now really exemplifying me being the best version of myself? Am I practicing what I preach? So that's probably the biggest lesson of all.
Yeah. It's like catching yourself in the moment and then choosing a different action.
Yes.
Which is, that's the work. That's the actual, the work. And I found, even me within my own journey of like the reaction time keeps getting smaller and smaller, which is what, I hope for. It's like, so that I respond a lot in a much shorter time instead of, turning around my thoughts, instead of, like letting it take me down for so long. And I would say, meditation has been super helpful for that, because it's taught me to make the gap between the thoughts smaller, so like that's also helped. So I would agree with that. It's a big lesson for me as well.
Yeah. Think before you react is a huge, huge thing.
Yeah. And the art of being responsible is being able to respond.
Right.
Like
I like that.
Yeah. It's like being able to respond. Yeah. So fast forward 20 years from now, future self, future Shane.
Okay.
Where are you? What are you doing?
Walking on stage, winning a Grammy.
All right. Oh, I love it. That's exciting.
I mean, I'm setting my goals high.
Awesome.
You know? Yeah.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's
And what about personal?
Just being healthy, you know, living a healthy life, you know, hopefully still with Steven. You know, that you can never put pressure on never future trip, right? That's what they say. Never future trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, you know, married and producing music and owning my own gym and just continuing to change people's lives, maybe even write a book.
Yeah. So when it's all said and done, what do you hope to look back on your life and say that it was all about? If you could choose one word to describe it all. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That chokes me up a lot.
Yeah.
Well. Excuse me.
No, it's okay. It's beautiful.
Love to me is a really huge word. And it goes back to my mom, and the struggle she went through, you know, when I was born that I didn't know about till later in the year, but you know, she loved me so much that she wasn't going to let me go, you know, and she had nothing, you know. My biological father left me when I was born, and we lived at my grandparents' house, and we literally had nothing, you know, and her love for me drove her in her career that she's been with them almost, you know, now almost 40 years. Drove her success. Love for my mom drove everything, you know, and it still does to this day. You know, she is the most loving person that I know, you know. She can't go a day without telling me she loves me, you know. But I learned a lot of that from my mom, and a lot of the love I learned from her was the love that we give. And it wasn't until later in the year that I realized that love is also loving yourself. And it's just love is such a huge word for me. You know, I don't know why I cry when I think of it, but maybe because it's Valentine's Day. And, you know.
And I'm in love.
But I'm also in love with myself, you know, and I'm so happy to be able to say that I can look at myself in the mirror, smile, and say, I love you.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's true transformation.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And anybody else can do it. So anyone else out there.
It's free.
It's free. It's free.
I mean, well, some services you got to pay for, but the choice to do it is free.
Right. The choice to do it is free, you know, and Allison or myself can help you and show you the way.
Yes, we can. So speaking of help, so like I know you're rocking it in the fitness world.
So I offer online training for anybody who's long distance, and it basically just goes by what their need is. So the most basic package that I offer for the online training is I will write your diet for a month, and I will write your training plan for a month, you know, all your workouts and everything. And then also once a week for 4 weeks for 1 hour sessions, we'll do an online coaching session.
Nice.
And that can be at the discretion to my client if they want to do it over Skype or the phone, whatever. But what I like to do is I like to do it over Skype when I'm at the gym, so that if I need to show them something, I can actually show them live right there what they're trying to come across and understand.
Yeah.
They text me all the time, you know, need some motivation, you know, or I need help with this this workout, or, you know, any questions they have, you know, can I eat this, which is a big one. And I tell them no, because it's usually something that you already know you're not supposed to eat.
That would be me. I have done that with you before.
You have.
You've become like the freaking cheese Nazi.
Yeah. Cheese turns into
cheese. Exactly.
Right.
This is what I remember. And every time I see it in the refrigerator, I'm like, I'm not allowed to eat that. Awesome. Well, I loved talking to you, and I'm so glad that you came on. And I'm so, you just, you know, I just love you to freaking pieces. You know that. You're so important and so special to me. And I'm glad that you shared your story, and people can find you and reach out to you. And you've been an inspiration, and I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. And, you know, I can't thank you enough for the work that you've done and you put in selflessly for me. You've changed my life forever, and I'll be forever. So you're going to be teared up again. I'll be forever grateful for you. That's for sure.
Well, you have done just as much for me. So I love you.
Love you too. Thank you.
So that's it for this episode. I hope you found something inspiring from what Shane was sharing. If you did, head on over to the Facebook group and let us know. I will link all of the socials in the show notes so that you can follow him as well. I thank you so much for listening and spending some time with me today. If you have any questions, feedback, or topics that you'd like to be discussed, shoot me an email at podcast@remixyourworld.com. Until then, take care.